All right, welcome back everybody. You made it through week 1. We are here on week 2. And this week we're focusing on something that it's an idea that's really critically important to researching health disparities in general. And that is being able to tightly link how do these environmental factors, it can be social environment, physical environment, how do those different factors get in our bodies and impact our health? And the term that I think of is a mechanism. What's that mechanism? I also want to just back up here in a minute. We talk a lot about health disparities or health inequities. This term social determinants of health is another term that I think is more often used in Canada. The World Health Organization uses it a lot. You'll see that term in the readings that we have posted for you. But really what we're talking about is that these are social factors. They're environmental factors. They can be anything outside of the body. So it can be your family, it can be your neighborhood, it can be dealing with the government, with politics and things. Now we're talking about a little bit on the socio-ecologic model. It can be all these different levels of influences that we generically put together as social determinants of health. How do those things actually impact our body? So what we need is to understand the pathway, the mechanism for how these things outside our body are impacting what's going on inside our body. And that's the focus this week. So I want to give a couple examples. I think this is one of the concepts that is really hard for people to understand. And I will say to you that Anna Diaz-Rue is probably, she's impressed me more than anybody in terms of her ability to really identify this and focus on these mechanisms or pathways is critical to really being able to take our research in health disparities and translate it into making some changes. So I believe you've got one article of hers for this week, but if any of you are interested, a lot of her research is actually in cardiovascular disease and heart disease, but she's a good person to look at some more of her readings. I'm also going to try to give you examples to help you understand this. But I want to talk a little bit about some examples that might help. So this idea of mechanism of action actually comes from medicine. If we think about strep throat, probably all of you have had strep throat. And what causes strep throat is a bacteria, a streptococcal bacteria. That bacteria gets in us, it overwhelms our immune system, and we get sick. So we can very clearly say that it's that little bacteria that causes us to get strep throat, and then what helps us get well? Well, most oftentimes we get put on an antibiotic, a very specific kind of antibiotic that will help our body. It kills that bacteria, and then our body can take back over. So the mechanism of action there in strep throat has to do with that bacteria, and then to get well, taking the antibiotic, which kills the bacteria, our immune system takes over, and then bammo whammo, we're all well again. Now, in one of your readings, I'm not sure, Ron Thistad, I think is how you pronounce his name, you'll read in there that he actually points out that even, he doesn't talk about strep throat, but points out this notion that oftentimes, even with these medical problems, we get sick because of other factors going on in our life, right? Because when do you get strep throat? During finals week, when everything's going wrong, when you're stressed, you get strep throat. All of us are faced with bacteria all the time and viruses all the time, but they don't ever make us sick because our immune system can fight them off. But our immune system gets worn out. It has a hard time, and then that's what puts us in a place to be vulnerable so that some of these bacteria can then take over and make us sick. That whole notion there is talking about the pathway through which we can get sick. It's focused mostly on a bacterial and viral infections, but that's the mechanism, that's the pathway, that's the model. So I want you guys this week to, whatever that project is that you want to focus on, that research idea, I really want you to think about what is the possible pathway or mechanism that gets these external factors to impact the physiology. Now, I know many of you may not be physicians and may not have a lot of background in biology, but it's fairly easy to get a sense of some of the theorized mechanisms. So for example, let's just take breast cancer. In breast cancer, and actually in cancer in general, an inflammatory model is a really popular model. People are exploring the idea that cancer is somehow related to an increased inflammatory state within your body. And inflammation can be due to a lot of different things. Obesity, it can be due to stress. Stress can be due to a myriad of things. Another hypothesis in breast cancer, not cancer in general, but breast cancer, has to do with insulin, with the insulin system. And then there's a third one that has to do with both of those, because actually insulin and inflammation are related. I don't expect you all to go very, very deeply into understanding the pathophysiology or the medical side of whatever your health issue is there, but I do want you to try to identify a couple of hypotheses or perhaps known causes for that illness, and then try to work back to the environment. So it's sort of a step-by-step roadmap back to the environment to try to link that. Now, there could be many, many factors, like stress, for example. There's a gazillion things that could be causing stress for somebody. It could be anything from discrimination, racism. The discrimination could be because of poverty even. We could have people with electricity being turned off, they don't have food. They've got family members who are ill. They could have all sorts of stresses. I don't want you to break down all of those stresses. These models, what you're going to do this week is work with some diagrams. You're going to sit down and you're going to draw, and you're going to draw and draw and draw. You're going to draw out this model, and then you're going to throw it away because it's too complicated, or because, no, this may not go this way, this goes this way. You're going to try to identify the variables that you think are the most important, okay? It's not going to have every single variable in it, but you want to find out the most important variables, and those are going to be the variables that ultimately you think you want to measure, okay? Now, this is really complicated. Please give me a call or an email if you're confused by it. In addition, what I've got on Blackboard is a PowerPoint. It's a really small PowerPoint file where what I've done is to try to put up some additional materials just to give you a better idea of what I'm talking about. Some of the models on there, like, oh, I had one up here, but it went away. My computer disappeared. I just wanted to really quickly show this to you. Over here, this is a model that's just one example. This is really complex. So you probably don't want to have this be your final model, but that's just one example. And again, I want to make sure that you all get in that PowerPoint file that's on Blackboard under week 2 to pull up some examples to help you understand what we're talking about here. If some of you are working in an area where there's already existing models, which there are a lot of existing models, I do not want you taking an existing model. We want this to be original. This is your piece of art. This is your opportunity to really try to think from your own experiences, talking with other people even. What do you think are important? And just to put those in your model. So you're going to post that. I'm going to give you feedback. And then what I'm going to do is pair you up with somebody in the class, and you all are going to critically evaluate each other's model too. Because really, this is not a question of being right or wrong, because these are areas that are still really unexplored. And that's the excitement of this, is this is an opportunity for you to really think about it and put your own ideas down there to see what you think is important. So I hope that you'll have fun this week with this assignment in thinking about what are the models that might be explaining how whatever social determinants you're interested in are impacting that health outcome. Now, I know last week I said to you too, some of you may be focusing on groups, certain populations, instead of diseases. If that's the case, instead of focusing on that one disease in particular, what I want you to do is to focus on the various levels of social determinants that might be impacting health, and then I still want you to figure out one or two specific ways that that's getting in the body. So you don't have to link it all the way back to a particular disease, but if you want to go for, let's say that you feel like the immune system is being shut down or being hurt in some way, I'm blocking on the word, that the immune system's not functioning at capacity and that's putting the person at risk for them, these things, that's okay. So I still want you to identify at least one bodily based way that it's entering the body, but you don't have to carry it all the way out to the disease if your focus, again, is on that population. But what you're going to do is to have a much broader list of those social determinants that you think are impacting this population, okay? Again, don't be shy about contacting me. Have fun with this. Please refer to the specific details on your homework assignments. You got something due on Wednesday and something due on Sunday, and so you can get the details on that there. I'll contact you this week via email to let you know who's working with who, by the way. So if you say, who am I supposed to be working with on this? By Tuesday or Wednesday, I'll let you know, because that assignment's due on Sunday, the one where you guys work together. So don't worry about that, all right? Have fun with this. Thanks.